Hello, this is Dr. Michael Greger coming to you live from my treadmill, my stationary treadmill, so I don't make anybody seasick like I do every month. Not make people seasick, but answer questions. For those of you unfamiliar with my work, every year I read through every issue of every English language nutrition journal on the planet, so good people like you, busy people like you, don't have to. I then compile the most interesting, most groundbreaking, the most practical findings to new videos and articles I upload nearly every day to my nonprofit site, NutritionFacts.org. Everything on the website is free. There are no ads, no corporate sponsorship, strictly non-commercial, not selling anything. Just put it up as a public service, as a labor of love, as a tribute to my grandmother, whose own life was saved with evidence-based nutrition. Let's get to your questions. First up is from Laura. What are the healthy ways to raise blood pressure in someone with low blood pressure? Should they eat salt? We should not go out of our way to raise our blood pressure unless we're symptomatic or whether a doctor actually tells us to. The ideal blood pressure is lower than most people think, about 110/70. And so it's basically as low as you can go without becoming symptomatic. But if you're, getting dizzy or something when you stand up, then you got to talk to your doctor about hydration, orthostatic peripheral nerve problems, central nerve problems, all sorts of things and causes. So treat the cause rather than trying to artificially raise it. Just like we should treat the cause of high blood pressure instead of trying to artificially lower it with medications. Though if you refuse to improve your diet and lifestyle, blood pressure medications can be life-saving. All right. Let's see. Next, let's see what Jacob has to say. Protein recommendations cannot be. My protein recommendations cannot be met with a daily dozen. I would have to limit my protein to 9% of calories. Should I stay high protein, greater than 9%, become a fruitarian, or eliminate exercise? What? 0.8 grams per healthy kilogram body weight. That's all you need. That's the recommended intake, and you can do that easy by we'll have to chronometer that puppy and check it out. But yeah, you should be able to eat the recommended amount of protein on a healthy diet centered around whole plant foods, which is what the Daily Dozen talks about. Okay, Sillyhead, not just any Sillyhead, but Sillyhead number 5 says, if amla's so amazing, why not have, multiple tablespoons? Have you ever tasted that stuff? Same with garlic cloves, lemons. Do things just hit a point of diminishing returns or what? No, they can make things worse sometimes. Look, that is such the USA American way to think about things, where if a little bit is good, then a lot must be better. Not true. Oh my God, you can run into real problems. I was just doing an interview today. What was the thing that came up? It was something really healthy. Oh, purslane. Purslane, this like weed that grows out of the sidewalk, can actually help with something called lichen planus, which can turn to cancer. And it's just this amazing, no drug has ever been able to show. So it beat out like immunosuppressants and steroids. This just regular plant, but you don't eat too much because it's a high oxalate plant, has about half as much as spinach. And so there's this horrible case report of someone with oxalate nephropathy who's eating 4 pounds a day. So you don't want to eat 4 pounds a day, but even probably 1.5 pounds at a meal is too much. I know it's delicious stuff, people. Purslane is delicious. But I think even 2 pounds spread over 2 meals might be too much. So anyway, no, just because a little bit is good doesn't mean more is necessarily better. Next question, is cabbage a dark green leafy vegetable? No, but it's a cruciferous vegetable. And so it fits into the cruciferous box of the Daily Dozen. But you shouldn't get green cabbage. You should get purple cabbage or red cabbage. So then you get those anthocyanin pigments, which are also found in berries, but found much cheaper by buying purple cabbage. Everyone should always have one in the crisper at home to slice off shreds to add a pretty, crunchy, delicious, and nutritious garnish to any meal. You can bet. In fact, I don't have one cabbage. I've got 2 cabbages in my fridge because my fridge is so packed. I forgot I had the one cabbage, so ordered another cabbage. And then I realized, oh my God, I got 2 cabbages. But The cabbage lasts so long in the fridge. What a great vegetable. Love it. Anyway, Rim says, hello, Rim. Patrick says, what's the latest time you should have? Oh, caffeine. Oh, that's a good question. So it depends in part on how fast you metabolize caffeine, which is in part genetically determined. And so, what is I think the traditional, I've got a video on this. I forget the specifics. I think traditionally it's like 4 hours before bedtime. That's usually, in most people, you can metabolize caffeine. But there was a study that showed that even drinking caffeine in the morning, which is what most people do, not having caffeine the rest of the day, I don't think it affects actually sleep time, which is where if you give someone coffee before bedtime, they actually sleep significantly less. So it didn't actually affect sleep duration, but it did actually cause EEG changes. And so the brainwave changes at night when you were sleeping are different if you had coffee in the morning, like 12 hours before, than they did otherwise. Now, does it have any clinical ramifications? Does it mean they slept better or worse? We have no idea. But the fact that it changes brainwaves even that late does raise potential concern. But in terms of actually interfering with sleep, let's give it 4 hours. But even better, check out the video and find out exactly how many hours the research really showed. But that's my memory. And if it turns out it's not 4 hours, then check out my memory videos. All right. Lisa says hello from the UK. Hello from the UK. Ramon says, that is just saying stuff. I don't know. Okay, there's some hearts from Catherine. What's next? Can I really ear unlimited? Do not put fruits in your ear. Eat as many fruits as you want. There was a study done by the University of Toronto that by a very prestigious research team. What was it? 26 servings or 19 servings a day of fruits. And they just saw beneficial side effects, right? So maybe a 20, all things go awry, but yeah, you can eat a lot of fruit. And watermelon season. Talk about a lot of fruit. Watermelon season is waning where I am, and I've just got a couple more, and they're actually turning pretty bad, but I love them so much, I'm still eating them. But with seeds, you got to eat the seeds. Oh my God, they're so yummy. Anyway, next. Okay. Disappeared. This is Heather saying opinions on adaptogenic mushroom coffees. Is it a gimmick or actually beneficial? Well, just the term adaptogenic is used almost exclusively by scammy people, even though there actually is a definition that actually means something. But it's just one of those buzzwords getting gullible people to buy stuff. So it depends what kind of mushroom coffee. There's chaga mushroom powder. Very high on oxalates. I think more than a teaspoon a day is actually could be potentially harmful. But check out my chaga mushroom video for find out exactly what the dose is. But I think it's that small. So if there's a lot of chaga mushroom, I would moderate one's dose. Okay, Greg says, what's the best way to remove fluoride from drinking water? Well, that's a good question. Presumably, so I wonder if reverse osmosis does it. That's a good question. I do not know the answer to that question. Distillation presumably would, but both distillation and reverse osmosis are incredibly wasteful. With one with energy, one with water, and there's no good data suggesting adverse effects of fluoride on adult brains. As there is on neurotoxicity for developing brains. But if you're pregnant, that would be a good reason to make sure not to get too much fluoride. You can check out, and if that just sounds like crazy rantings of an anti-fluoridation activist, they're not. That's actually what the National Toxicology Program is now saying. It is a presumed neurotoxicant, which is the official government body that tells what is and is not toxic, as I talked about in my series on fluoridation, which certainly changed my mind on the matter because the science changed, and that's what you do when the science changes. What is your opinion on Bryan Johnson, the millionaire who's trying to not die? I'm all in favor of people trying to not die. He has from what little I've seen, he has this, very non-risk averse biohacking kind of attitude of basically trying anything. Like if there's even some hint of benefit, he'll like do all sorts of wacky things, which just have not been proven. But that's not his thing. He's not going to wait till proven. He's going to do like these cutting edge stuff, which I'm a little concerned about. So I think he takes like, I don't know, 100 supplements a day. I couldn't think of 100 supplements that would be beneficial off the top of my head, but he does. He is certainly smart enough to eat a plant-based diet because he knows the research. And so maybe he knows something about some supplements that I don't know, but I think he's just has a very low bar, which is understandable. A lot of things aren't harmful. So like, why not give it a try? But I don't know. I prefer to base my decisions based on some evidence of efficacy. Okay, how much? So this is Hubert. How much soy should you eat to lose weight? For how long? A study about it on NutritionFacts. Check out the video. So check out the. So evidently there's a video on Nutrition Facts. I wonder what they were replacing the soy in the diet with. Oh, was it a soy milk versus a dairy milk thing? Maybe. Anyway, so what you do is you go on, you go to the sources cited. So there's a button under the video, sources cited. You click on it, and it gives the links, the direct links to the actual studies themselves. And so you can see. So if I say, oh, they took some turmeric and this happened, you can look at the study and be like, oh, they took 3 grams of turmeric. That's a teaspoon. Oh, okay. So I should have a teaspoon or whatever. Often I don't go into, into that kind of detail. But yeah, if you're interested in a particular study and exactly what they used, then just check out the actual study. All right. How much urolithin is in one pomegranate? Oh, that's a good question. And why would it matter if it was like 10 milligrams or 100 milligrams? Oh, I guess if there's some supplement that they're trying to sell you. Is this like 1,000 pomegranates worth? Anyway, I encourage you not to take supplements. But that urolithin thing is really interesting. So it's a postbiotic. So it's one of these things where it's like lignans in flax, where the anti-cancer activities are actually activated by good bacteria in your gut. And so you can eliminate those benefits if you, for example, take an antibiotic that wipes out those particular bacteria, or you can have greater benefits if you have better bugs. Very interesting. Just kind of like the opposite of TMAO, where if you have those like bad steak-eating, egg-eating bugs and you eat steaks or eggs, you get that trimethylamine oxide. Where if you wipe out your gut flora, you don't have that negative effect. Or in this case, you don't get the positive effect. All right. Let's see what Jennifer wants to eat a whole food plant-based diet, but cannot tolerate beans, gluten, or oats. Wow. Okay, what can I do to get enough protein? I'm protein deficient, so start eating animal products. So cannot tolerate beans, gluten, or oats. Okay, well, there's other whole grains. So I'm wondering, so any legumes, so lentils, chickpeas. It's unusual for someone not be able to tolerate. Now, and by tolerate, do you mean like gastrointestinal, like bloating or something? In which case, you just may not have the microbial machinery to deal with it. So you just got to ramp up your fiber intake gradually. So now, unless it's like an allergic reaction or your tongue swells or something, don't do that. But we really should try to include legumes in our daily diet. There's lots of non-gluten containing whole intact grains and pseudo grains. So you don't have to eat any of those things to not get all the protein you need on a healthy diet. I have an LP little a calcium. I have LP little a. Everybody has LP little a. Presumably they have some mutation that gives you a high LP little a. Calcium score is low. LDL 74. Is my calcium score cause for alarm? Calcium score, remember, just talks about past kind of healed calcified plaque. So having a high calcium score just says you have previous. It doesn't give you a sense of what's happening now in your arteries. Having high enough LDL cholesterol, particularly if you have LP(a), presumably you'll be brewing atherosclerosis, whether or not that calcium scan shows anything or not. So I would encourage you to continue to improve your diet to push your LDL even further. We're looking for like 50 to 70 for primary prevention. That would be particularly if you have high LP(a), which is there little we can do about it. Although there are some things, and I have some videos talking about it. Tammy asks, how much rice per week is safe from arsenic? White better than that. White better for that. How to get arsenic out. Lucky you. I've got a whole series of videos talking about the issue. And so there's all sorts of ways you can prepare rice and buy different rice varieties from different countries to get lower arsenic, and then you can cook it ways to get rid of arsenic. The way that's recommended is actually boiling rice like pasta in a lot of excess water. And then once it's done, you dump it in a colander, and so much of the arsenic just goes away in the water, and you're left with the rice. And in terms of how much is safe per week, I talk about the risk of with arsenic. We're predominantly concerned about bladder cancer, and I talk about based on arsenic levels in water, how many decades you have to be at what kind of level to get what kind of risk, and so you can make up your own mind. I encourage people to diversify their grains. That's probably the most important thing. So instead of, particularly macrobiotic folks, massive amounts of brown rice all the time, that's probably not a good idea. I'd like people to, discover sorghum, discover millet, all those sorts of millets out there, all sorts of other things, just so you're not eating rice all the time, as delicious as it is. JT says, what's my opinion on Ezekiel bread? Well, it's probably one of the healthiest breads out there. You can actually get it, and one of the primary reasons is because there's at least one variety of Ezekiel bread with no added salt. And that's probably the biggest problem with bread. Now the high glycemic index, but high glycemic load, but they add a lot of salt to make it taste better. Probably my favorite bread on the market now is some called manna bread, which I discovered when I spoke in Chicago earlier this year, where they have bread, check this out, with one ingredient. So their rye bread is rye groats, period. Like, that's it. That is cool to see a label like that. Anyway, but those are the only two that I think are available, not just low sodium, but no added salt, period. All right. I do have someone saying, wait a second, why am I not talking about maca? I do have a whole section in my latest book, How Not to Age, on maca, and we'll eventually turn that into videos, but it may be a while. So go to your local public library and check out the book. Oh, this is interesting. What foods can help whiten teeth? I've got a series of tooth whitening videos coming up, mostly talking about like tooth whitening toothpaste and whether it's useful or harmful or blah, blah, blah. But I don't know if there are any foods that came up. I don't remember running across any foods. Julia, hello. Recently read articles that you should not take turmeric with black pepper. Should you take turmeric at the same time as black pepper? No. There was a case series published of people taking curcumin supplements. They called them turmeric supplements, but they were not. In every single case, they were not turmeric. So they said, gave people 500 milligrams of turmeric. No, it was a quarter teaspoon of turmeric. No, it's not true. If you actually look up the brand, it's very hard to actually find just turmeric, the spice, in a pill, because they can't charge a lot of money for it, because they realize, it's only like, whatever dollars, $20 a pound or something. So each pill should be like a penny. So how can you charge more than a penny? So they have to have some fancy, curcumin, it's a turmeric extract. And added things to make you pay lots of money for it. So anyway, these were all on curcumin supplements, turmeric extract supplements. And there were liver problems associated, just like you see liver problems associated with green tea extract supplements, but never any problems with green tea. Those kind of liver problems ever noted in the peer-reviewed medical literature. Same thing with turmeric. So it's not that they're mixing with black pepper, although a lot of supplements did have black pepper. The problem is the problem is that they were taking extract supplements. So just use turmeric. You can just, and if you don't like the taste of turmeric, then you can get capsules of pure turmeric, make your own, or use those edible film wrappers like I do, whatever, rather than taking some supplement. Oh, we talked about Bryan. Alexander says if berberine is a mitochondrial poison, mild mitochondrial poison, do berberines affect muscle endurance, strength, and neurological function as these like metformin do? Oh, that's a good question. So, metformin does have that small decrement in physical performance with exercise. And since berberine may act in a similar way, would that be a concern? I'm presuming it's not going to be concerned at the doses that you would get eating barberries, which is the whole food source. But they are not recommended during pregnancy or breastfeeding because there's that theoretical concern, but it's never been put to the test. I eat barberries every day, if that makes any difference to anybody. Tommy says, halfway through eating How Not to Die. Oh, no, that's nice. They're loving How Not to Die. Next year, there'll be a 10-year anniversary update. Amazing book. Oh, that's very sweet. Oh, great. Enjoy, Tommy. Who's next? Is that Miko Head? Oh, we already did him. What's next? I should probably preview these before I just click on them, but post-acne skin restoration in mid-20s with diet. Oh, you mean like, yeah, if you have like scarred pox? That's something I don't know. I have lots of videos on preventing acne and treating acne, active acne. But in terms of like acne scars, that's not something I've ever looked into. All right. Have any evidence that non-fluoride toothpaste is a good fluoride toothpaste? There's a lot of evidence the opposite way. Fluoride toothpaste is better for cavity prevention. Hands down. I have a whole video talking about that evidence. This is they're asking for their group sourcing things. That's great. I'm not familiar with that app. What do you think about the new study saying olive oil is healthy? The only new study I know about olive oil is the one that was done by Agrawal's group that showed negative effects. So it was a plant-based diet with olive oil or not olive oil. So it's a healthy diet. All the observational evidence and a lot of the actually interventional evidence is comparing olive oil to things that are terrible like lard or butter. So yeah, olive oil is better than butter, better than lard. People that eat a lot of olive oil have beneficial health outcomes, but it's that because they're eating less meat and dairy. That was kind of the original thought to the olive oil. And so that's why this study was so important, where they took people and let's put them on a healthy diet. Put them on a whole food plant-based diet with or without olive oil, and those who without the olive oil did better in terms of better LDL, which is a primary risk factor for the number one killer of men and women. Is there another olive oil study I don't know about? I'm sure there are. But if you give me the citation, I will pull it up. But otherwise, I don't know what to tell you. Gloria, do I need to be on a statin if my cholesterol is fine? Only because I smoked for 40 years. As a preventive measure because of my smoking. Oh, the ex. No, I was like, your ex spouse smokes. What's the point of that? What's the problem with that? As long as they're your ex. I see what you mean. With that smoking history, I think there's actually a recommendation from the USPSTF, which I, in general, am very highly respectful of. There's some kind of, I think, a low-dose CT screening for those with that kind of smoking history. I would check out exactly what the recommendation is, but I believe you really should be getting some imaging to make sure that you don't have a tumor brewing that can be managed earlier rather than later. But in terms of statins, depends what cholesterol fine is. If your cholesterol is optimal, then you don't have to take a statin. But normally when you go to the doctor and says, oh, your cholesterol is fine, or your cholesterol is normal. Well, you don't want to have a normal cholesterol in a society where it's normal to drop dead of a heart attack. It's the number one killer, right? It's like having normal blood pressure when stroke is one of our leading killers. Like that doesn't matter. You don't want normal blood pressure. You want ideal blood pressure, ideal cholesterol. And so if by cholesterol is fine, you have an LDL for primary prevention under 70, or if you have heart disease, well, it doesn't sound like you have heart disease. So yeah, so if your LDL is under 70, I cannot believe your 10-year heart disease risk would be high enough to justify statin use under the current guidelines. Okay. Silica, according to Maria, was found to help with collagen. Sounds like someone was trying to sell you silica. And bamboo leaves have silica. Can I look it up? Are you suggesting we eat bamboo leaves? Yeah. No thanks. But yeah, all right. Don't eat bamboo leaves. I don't think there are even, don't eat bamboo leaves. All right, what's your view? Oh, on the longevity biohacking scene, what are the most important tests we should get to see if we're living optimally? I mean, it's a fascinating scene. Unfortunately, most of what they're doing is is not something I would recommend. I have, in How Not to Age, I talk about some of these drugs people are on, like metformin or rapamycin. Some of the things that people are doing, or resveratrol, that's a huge thing for longevity people, red wine, that kind of thing. And in most cases, they're not just neutral, like useless, but actually harmful. And so, yeah, I like the spirit, but would like people to, do things that have been shown to be safe and ideally even effective. In terms of tests, I know there's a big, there's a lot of tests kind of available in the research literature, but not so much on the commercial side, just because they're just not well validated, among kind of the general population. And so, the most, so I would go with the USPSTF recommendations. So I believe our cholesterol every 5 years, just make sure, because it's such a critical determinant of one's longevity. But beyond that, it's really just kind of specific to your own family history and personal medical history and, habits. Are you an alcoholic? Are you pregnant? Or, blah, 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 on down the list. Okay. Next up, how not to die on night shifts. So I talk about chronobiology in How Not to Diet. And it turns out that a lot of the negative effects of that. So negative effects are really quite serious. But a lot of that serious adverse side effects can be mediated by the by lifestyle behavior. So people who do shift work eat terribly in general, and so it's actually the eating terribly that you keep people up overnight, and they eat worse, they eat more, they eat junkier foods. And so if you can resist that urge to start smoking, to deal with the rigors of chronobiological disruption, you can go a long way to prevent the adverse effects. But if you can, find a different line of work. It's really, I was really surprised at the amount of life expectancy that's shaved off by people that do shift work. Of course, we don't know if it's cause and effect, but there's lots of interventional data showing that short-term flipping can have real negative metabolic effects. Oh my God, we're almost out of time. Is there any super quick one? Let me look really quick. Phooey. Oh my God, there's so much good stuff in here. All right. Well, we'll have to do it. We'll have to do it next time. Oh, here's one really quick. Can I recommend a good book on children's nutrition? Absolutely. Nourish, co-authored by Brenda Davis. Fantastic. Thanks so much, everybody. I will talk to you next month. I've got some exciting stuff coming up, including a Ozempic, 3-hour Ozempic webinar, in depth. I'm going to do an audiobook, ebook, maybe even a printed book on it. Just got to put so much work into it. Sorry it's taking me so long to address this very important medical advance. But all will be revealed. I'm just putting a bow on it now. And talk to you soon.